Proceed with caution because you're on a sensitive mission. Well, saints, thankfully for us, we have the best GPS known to man.
One sinner from his guilty cross essayed to mock the Son, until his fellow reprobate made that dying soul aware that he should set aside his plan to vilify that Holy One.
Welcome to Testimony Time. Do you have a burning testimony that you want to give? Then please tell us what God has done for you by using the email listed on the screen. Do you have a tithe, offering, and/or donation that you would like to give Plain Path? Then please use the information on the screen to do so as well. For further questions, please contact us via email or reach out to our church officials. One of our sisters recalls a time when she was driving alone late at night. She did not know where she was, so our sister turned on her GPS to find her way home. The GPS took her down an unfamiliar street where she was stopped by a red light. It was unusually dark and deserted at the stoplight, but at least she was headed in the right direction, right? Wrong. When our sister looked to her left, she saw a large group of gang members headed her way. When she looked to her right, she saw even more gang members coming towards her about a half block away. Now, our sister did not stick around to find out what these gang members were looking for. She prayed, floored the gas, and went through the red light. God blessed her to escape the dangerous situation unharmed, and our sister has been thanking the Lord ever since. Amen. Do you have a burning testimony that you want to give? Then please tell us what God has done for you by using the email listed on the screen. Do you have a tithe, offering, and/or donation that you would like to give Plain Path? Then please use the information on the screen to do so as well. For further questions, please contact us via email or reach out to our church officials.
Proceed with caution because you're on a sensitive mission. Everybody has one. The kind of neighbor who will always seize the moment to look upon his fellows with contempt, as if he were much too grand to be amidst their kind. This is actually what the unrepentant sinner on the cross beside the Lord essayed to do, until his fellow, the transgressor, on the other cross, made that dying soul, who in insurrection's honor found himself in circumstance condemned upon a tree, aware that he should set aside his plan to vilify the Lord, who being chastened and impaled inclined his head before the sovereign God and willed himself to die, though he'd never done a thing amiss. One sinner from his guilty cross essayed to mock the Son, until his fellow reprobate made that dying soul aware that he should set aside his plan to vilify that Holy One.
Take two, ready?
Proceed with caution because you're on a sensitive mission. Everybody has one. The kind of neighbor who will always seize the moment to look upon his fellows with contempt, as if he were much too grand to be amidst their kind. This is actually what the unrepentant sinner on the cross beside the Lord essayed to do, until his fellow, the transgressor, on the other cross, made that dying soul, who in insurrection's honor found himself in circumstance condemned upon a tree, aware that he should set aside his plan to vilify the Lord, who being chastened and impaled inclined his head before the sovereign God and willed himself to die, though he'd never done a thing amiss. In that paragraph, of course, a comparison is being made between a neighbor who thinks he's all that and how one of the sinners on his cross tried to mistreat Jesus. But imagine the effect that it would have if the person looking down upon others with this intense disdain were a Christian. How would this enhance his witness or detract from it, and from his ability to lead the lost to Christ? During David's search for a weapon to ward his stalker away, which search ultimately caused him to take possession of Goliath's sword from the priest who had stored it undoubtedly since David had conquered the giant years before, David needed to proceed with caution, since the enemy who was stalking him and hoping to choke his life out was none other than the man in charge of the kingdom where David roamed, Saul, the king of Israel. When David requested a weapon of defense and claimed that he was out and about on the king's business and that the king's business required haste, that wasn't quite accurate. In fact, more to the point, David was running for his life, but was keeping the priest in the dark as he made his request of that cleric who was wary of him, but none the wiser. David noticed a pair of untrustworthy ears listening in, and he had qualms and misgivings about that person's being privy to the interchange between the priest and him. David's intuition proved true. Although the priest was not in a conspiracy against him, King Saul thought so and had his men slay him for actually aiding and abetting David in his mission to stay alive. And David suffered remorse for his lack of exercising supreme caution. But the person who was truly responsible for the priest's murder was the man who authorized his killing, King Saul himself. And in his reckless desire to remain in power and to create a royal dynasty, though God had laid an axe to the root of that dynastic tree, he was adding sin to sin. What would David think to be his mistakes in those proceedings? What are some things that he'd advise us to do differently if we were in the same dilemma? Would he have advised us to watch to see who's listening in when you need to repeat certain confidences in certain circles? But there was an urgency in his acquiring the item and quickly getting out of Dodge because his oppressor was hot on his heels, and David was trying to remain socially very distant from death. In fact, he was even trying to reject a premature invitation to enter its doors. Instead, he preferred to accept the suggestion that should he die, it should be another day. Because he was so young when he was receiving those dreams of his, which were the first of his published in the Bible, Joseph readily revealed them to his kinfolks, who would be directly affected by them if they were true. He told his brothers and his father that in the dream he, Joseph, had harvested sheaves or bundles of grain, and so had they, yet their plans bowed to his, which of course meant that he would achieve a status greater than they, and his status would cause them to bow to him, showing him the utmost respect. His brothers balked, but their father carefully considered it. Joseph is not the only one who erred in this manner. There was a mental image which I could not quite capture. It was of the time when I first started at my job decades ago. It was of young people who took such pride in their youth that they believed it was something to boast about. I stated that it is silly to boast in one's youth or beauty, because every day that you grow, there are others who enter life's stage and thus are younger than you. And somewhere on God's green earth, there is someone more beautiful than every one of us. What is the tune which Elder Thomas Paine used to sing? Time marches on, time marches on. The young grow old and the old grow cold. Time marches on. What I did not realize was the short-sightedness of my stating the riddle which puzzled me aloud to the people about whom it was speaking, while looking to the clouds as if I were having a mystical experience, because the people in whose presence I stood were the ones who demonstrated the arrogance of behaving in the objectionable manner about which I was speaking. And somewhere along the way they must have realized that their behavior was the subject of my gentle but ignorantly condemnatory speech. God was communicating with those individuals, and he was using me. But with my eyes glazed over and my feet planted on the ground in my mind in vision land, I didn't quite realize what was going on. And so, doubling back to complete the account of Joseph's error in judgment, maybe on some level or another he should have kept it to himself, but in his revealing the truth that he was destined to in his generation be at the very least the most prominent of all of Jacob's children, he brought upon himself family matters, which he could have possibly avoided had he employed more wisdom. Yet God still wanted him to prepare himself for his promotion so as to keep many people alive. Proceed with caution, because you're on a sensitive mission.
Thank you for joining Plain Path Church for online service. If you enjoyed the word today, don't forget to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We hope you have a blessed week, saints. Until next time.